Hey, Dylan.
Hey, Matt.
So last year around this time, we talked about the Tales from the Crypt episode and All Through the House. And you had the brilliant idea that we should watch the 1972 Tales from the Crypt movie.
1972.
Not the whole movie, but the very first segment of the movie is And All Through the House, based on the exact same Vault of Horror issue. And it's a pretty good segment. So this is a much quicker version of that story.
Yeah, for sure. And it is like, I have not seen this movie probably in a decade. Like, I don't remember anything about the movie version of Tales from the Crypt. Just the fact that there is, like, the Crypt Keeper is he more in line with the Crypt Keeper that we had in the comics?
I guess. I mean, the Crypt Keeper we had in the comics is still like kind of a rotted, gross face. This is just like an old, fat, bald guy.
Yeah,
he
it's
looks like
really
Friar
weird.
Tuck down there.
It was really weird, the choice that they made for this.
Here's the thing that doesn't make sense about Tales from the Crypt is that I feel like we're supposed to get this big shock that they're all dead at the end, but it's very obvious from like the Get Out that they're all dead at the end. Like, I think he like reveals a skeletal face in like the final shot or something. Like,
okay. Well, the whole thing, like the whole setup, I don't know if you watched. Did you watch any of the beginning?
I fast forwarded my Blu-ray and got to right as the story was about to begin, because this came out. Scream Factory put this out pretty early in the run of Scream Factory.
It was a dual disc, wasn't it?
Yeah,
it was like
with Vault of Horror. So this was. These days are long gone, sadly, but there was a solid 3 or 4 year period where Scream Factory would just send me free Blu-rays to talk about on horror movie night.
Those days are gone.
But,
I feel you. I'm right there with you.
But this was one of the Blu-rays I got for free, and I was like, fuck yeah. Like, I don't know what happened. That well just dried up about 2 or 3 years ago, and I was like, no, I have to buy these now?
Yeah. I got to spend $40 on a movie I own 2-3 copies of.
Oh, no. Unless they were sending me the free copy, my rule was always I don't care about an upgraded version. But if it's one that I'm like, ooh, I've wanted that for my collection, then I'll drop the cash. But so I watched this when it first got here. And I think that this is a good point to go on a tangent before we even talk about this special.
Go for it.
What is your thoughts on Hammer films? Because I feel like I'm supposed to like them more than I actually do.
My thoughts on Hammer films is I have to be really in the mood for British Gothic horror to watch a Hammer film. And I don't want to word this wrong. I don't want to piss anyone off. I have to be in a really pretentious mood to watch a Hammer horror film.
They're kind of boring sometimes.
Yeah,
they're
that's
really
what I mean.
slow.
Like I'm like
and this isn't a Hammer film for the record.
No. It's definitely a Hammer film.
But it basically is.
Yeah, exactly. And it's the way that it's like shot and set up. Now, there are things that I absolutely love that we'll talk about when we get into this segment. Yeah, Hammer films in general can definitely be very boring. Let me put it this way. I like the feeling and aesthetic of a Hammer film more than I like Hammer films.
Yes, I think that is a great way to word it. Because here, we've done a couple Hammer films on Horror Movie Night, and I've never hated my watch. But like, my ultimate feeling is like, this is prettier than it is entertaining. Like, it's beautifully shot, it's beautifully filmed, it's well acted, like, but it's just like, you know, I'm hosting a show called Horror Movie Night. My expectation is that there's going to be some killing and some gore.
Yeah.
And like, usually it's just kind of this very slow, moody, methodical, psychological thing, and then there'll be like a like moment at the very end, and you're like, oh, it got me. So like, this at least, because it's an anthology film, you get a couple of those throughout each thing, and this is. I think it's creative because I'm pretty sure this is like a PG movie. Like it's a 1972 PG movie, but it's a PG movie all the same. So like, you know, whereas in the TV show version that we watched, you know, you see this dude get a fucking plunger in the skull. This, it has the very creative, he's looking at the paper and you just see a blood splatter hit the newspaper. And I'm like, that's cool. Like, I was like, that's a really great way to convey without showing specifics.
If I remember correctly, the sleaziness of the 80s TV show is much more in line with the sleaziness of the comics.
For
like,
sure.
I feel like the comics, and it's been, again, that's another thing. It's been quite a few years since I've read them, but I do have I think I bought it from some horror con. It was like a bootleg thing of a disc with all of the comics on them.
Well, I want to clarify, though, because sleazy can mean two things.
Okay.
And, like, the 80s show was real sexy and, like, almost porny at times. But you're talking about more, like, the sleaze of the violence. Like
yes,
a Grindhouse
that's more
movie
what I mean.
sleaze.
Yes, that's what I mean.
Then, yes. No, the comics were... They got in... I mean, that was why there was a comics code, was because, like... There was legit... I think it was specifically a comic about, like, a baseball player where the ending is that they... used all of his organs for the field. So it was like his intestines around the diamond with like his liver as first base and his like, you know, head is second base. Like they drew some fucking dark stuff.
Yeah. And that's what I think that.
And that was all show, not tell for them.
Exactly. Like and the sexiness of the 80s aside, like they did do that. Like they did stuff like that. Like they were like, fuck it. They did it in the comic. We're going to do it here. Yeah. And that was almost why, like when I was a kid, I stayed away from it because that stuff like freaked me the fuck out.
There are things that are still really gross to look at in Tales from the Crypt episodes. Like they did not shy. There was no implied violence on that show. No. And if it was implied violence, it was so that when you see the result of the implied violence, it's even more garish.
Yeah.
Like, you know what I mean? Like,
exactly.
Like, it's like you either see someone getting their head sawed off close up, or it's like, no, we're not going to show you that. We're going to show an axe coming down towards John Lovitz's head, and then we're going to cut to someone holding a bloody skull that still has, like, a bunch of muscle on it.
Yep.
And then, like, a hollowed out face of John Lovitz laying in the dumpster somewhere. Like, it's like, okay, Jesus Christ.
Like, you're just like, I'm getting flashbacks of some of the shit that they show.
It's really gross.
Hey, do you have an idea for a podcast but don't know where to start? Or do you have an already existing podcast that you want to take to the next level? Well, check out WeKnowPodcasting.com. From concept development to theme music to editing to logos, WeKnowPodcasting.com is a one-stop shop for all things pod. Don't hesitate to hit us up. We're very nice.
The movie, this version, as it's not a Hammer horror film, but it was much more like a Hammer horror film. And they found different ways around that. Funny enough is we kind of talked about this with our Clerks comic discussion when we talked about the Clerks cartoon, and almost like we appreciate what they had to do in that cartoon because they couldn't throw in fucks and dick jokes and weed jokes and stuff like that. So like I kind of liked some of the ways and the tricks that they pulled to get around that.
I want to tell you one thing right now.
Yeah.
I think that this is a scarier version of And All Through the House than the Tales from the Crypt one, because Larry Drake looks great as a crazy maniac.
100%.
But he looks like a crazy maniac. The idea that the daughter would think that that is the real Santa Claus is like kind of a stretch. But this guy...
You dumb shit! That's not Santa. You don't even have a fucking beard.
But this guy, I could see a little girl being like, oh my God, it's Santa. And like... One of the things that jumped out at me is, and admittedly, this was maybe halfway through the segment before I picked up on this, so I could have missed this. But it feels like there's no musical cues in this. There's no like,
none. It's just Christmas music playing in the background.
So there's no like, something creepy's happening. So like a segment specifically that I thought was like so beautifully done in the creepiness is her trying to shutter up all the windows, and the one window won't shutter up. And she like opens it again to try, and you just see the hand in the face like gently on the window, and you're just like, oh, like it's so uncomfortable and creepy. Like, and the face, I thought he was wearing a mask until the last shot where I'm like, oh, this dude is just having his face perfectly still and emotionless. Like, I literally thought he was wearing a creepy mask.
Do you remember Rare Exports?
Yes.
He reminds me of whatever actors they had playing the elves that they thought was Santa. Like, the way that they have the perfect Santa face. He's not fat. He's almost like really skinny and lanky. And it's like, I don't know, there's something about him where I'm like, you look like a homeless person, but I definitely want to ask you to bring me some gifts. Like there's something perfect about it.
Also, I want to say something, and it's gonna sound fucked up.
Yeah.
I wanted to look up this actor on Wikipedia real quick. Right?
Okay.
So it says
the
he was
Santa actor.
The Santa actor. So it said Oliver McGreevy was an Irish actor who appeared in many British films and television series from the mid-50s until he retired in 1980. Right? He also,
I think I just pulled up what you're going to talk about.
He also died on October 1981, so it kind of feels like you could just be like, he acted until his death. I don't like saying that he retired seems like he just didn't get a role for 1 year and then he passed away, unfortunately. But yeah, it's funny looking at his Wikipedia picture. He has a very even that picture, he has a more expressive face than he has in this actual short as Santa Claus. So like that, there's something, he does something incredible with that dead eye stare.
It is also really unfortunate that his final role was
Flash Gordon.
Clytus Observer number 1. Flash Gordon.
Yeah, what, you don't think that's a top quality role?
Probably not. That's unfortunate. But Oliver McGreevy, you were awesome in this. I really enjoyed you in this. You know what I wish they would bring back? Like, one of the things, and I think Tim Burton does it a lot when he does his R-rated stuff. I really want more violence in movies. Period. No, I'm just kidding. I really want more violence in movies that doesn't look realistic. And what I mean by that is I miss when blood looked like red fruit punch.
Yes, I agree.
I miss that. I loved the Sweeney Todd remake because when they would slit throats, it was like insane the amount of blood.
You and I literally just briefly mentioned Dead Alive to each other today.
Yeah,
and like
exactly.
That's like a prime example. That movie is one of the goriest movies ever made, but it's so cartoonish. It
doesn't make me feel sick when people are like, "Oh, it's so fucking gory." But that's the gore that I love. I love when it's just out of this world. I loved her like pouring the red juice next to his head, and then she's like washing the sink, and it's more orange than it is red, and it's just so goofy. There's something about it that just makes me happy. Like, I prefer that over kind of the I hate to say this because all horror fans were like this, and you fucking torture porn, so like, it's not that I hated that. It's just I miss when things were less realistic.
Yeah, no, we can't fully blame torture porn for all of that. Like, Hellraiser is like frighteningly realistic in its gore. But no, obviously, look, I've said it before. You make a movie where someone drops a machete or an axe like this, and the person splits perfectly down the center like a tree. I am on board. I love it. Like, give me the fucking Looney Tunes version of a slasher movie.
And that's why I love like especially the early trauma flicks where if a head would explode, you'd get that brief cut to a watermelon. Like it was obviously not. Yeah, exactly. Like, it's obviously not somebody's head. It's just a melon with a face painted on it, and it just explodes. It's great. It's awesome.
It's fantastic.
I love that.
It's I agree with you. The other thing that I need to call out, because it literally at like 11 at night made me go, Jesus, is when she throws that body down the stairs. I don't know if that's a stunt actor or a very well done mannequin or what, but the way that thing flops and hits every stair on the way down and like breaks the banister and stuff, it is rough to look at.
It's so funny to watch scenes like that and knowing that like you and I are both into film, and we're like, we know like that's filmmaking in the 70s, brother. Like, like it's insane where you're just like, all right, I guess I got to do this. You just throw yourself down some fucking steps. Like, that's the business, baby.
I was like, because there's no way that they had like a foam body or whatever that could
No.
move
That's
as realistically
100% a person, dude.
Yeah. It's like, Jesus Christ. And then they died, but we got the shot, so it's totally cool.
We gave him a bottle of brandy and said,
well, that's like I always think of one of my favorite filmmaking in the 70s stories, which is Gunnar Hansen talking about making Texas Chainsaw Massacre. And he says, like, I'm reading the script, and it says at the end of the script that Leatherface falls down and drops the chainsaw on his leg and cuts off his leg. Yeah. And I thought, wow, Toby, how are we going to do that? And Toby said, don't worry about it. It's going to be the last shot of the movie. And he goes, and what I thought was, we've got all the time in the world to figure out how to do it. What I later realized is what he meant was, if we accidentally cut off your leg, the movie's been filmed and we're okay.
Dude, I fucking love it. I love that shit. That's so wild to me.
And I think the way they did that scene, side note, if you've seen the movie, is that I'm pretty sure they had a live active chainsaw with a chain on it, and Gunnar Hansen just had a slab of meat wrapped around his kneecap, and they just dropped the chainsaw on it and then pulled it away after they got the shot that they needed.
Which, don't get me wrong, I'm all for safety on the set, but if somebody's going to get injured or hurt, I would much rather it happen this way than these people that are just working until, like, they're killing themselves, making really bad CGI.
That's true. That's true. What's a man with two legs anyway? But
whatever.
A weak actor. Not dedicated to the craft.
Gunnar Hansen also seems like the kind of person who, like, he'd be pissed off at the time, but then he'd like be like, cut my fucking leg off. Play Leatherface.
Look, there is not when I hear the stories of how John Waters made stuff like Pink Flamingos, where he's like, we were all just high as a kite on set. I'm pretty sure that's the same vibe for Texas Chainsaw Massacre. I'm pretty sure that is a bunch of stoned kids on camera just going, all right, Toby, whatever you say.
You just feel it's movies. I know we're like switching gears, but God, that movie feels gross. Like, it's just so hot.
It is one of the more. It's why it's my. When someone asks me what the greatest horror movie ever made was, I always say that, because that movie makes you feel something.
Yeah, like, just sweaty.
Yeah, it's gross.
I just want to crank the air conditioner while I watch that movie. Just switch naked with my junk flapping in the wind.
Please talk more.
Sorry. Tales from the Crypt all through the house.
Yeah.
10 out of 10, bro.
Yeah, no. Good pick. Good call, Dylan. I approve.
So which one, like, next year, you're like, I want to watch All Through the House. Which one are you watching?
Probably this one, actually.
Really?
Yeah. A, it's shorter. B, it's creepier. C, I think it feels more Christmassy overall.
I do too. To me, like,
actually, the true answer is I don't want to watch it.
Yeah, I don't want to watch either of them. But, like, if I'm like, I'm going to watch one horror Christmas-related thing this year, it's not going to be either of these.
No.
But if I were, gun to my head, if I had to pick one to watch around Christmas, not that they're bad, they're just, neither one put me in the Christmas spirit, it would be this one. Now, if you were to look at me and say, you need to watch the more Tales from the Crypt feeling one, it's Larry Drake.
Yeah.
Like, it's that one is much more gritty. It's gross. It's just Larry Drake's face. Rest in peace. I'm sorry. That feels awful for me to say, but I think he would even agree.
No, it's a gross, creepy face. You're right.
Yeah. Like that episode gives me more of a Halloween feel than it does a Christmas feel, even though it's got a lot of Christmas stuff. So I would definitely agree. All Through the House, 10 out of 10 on both versions of it. Just don't make me feel Christmassy very much. Neither one of them. So
yeah, no, exactly.
Yeah.
All right. Well, Merry Christmas, Dylan.
Merry Christmas, Matt.
Whoa, oh, whoa, whoa. Now we won't stop till the big ball drops on New Year's. Have a happy holiday. Have a great, great, great holiday. Have a merry, 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 merry happy holiday.
You're listening to the Geekscape Network.